What are some solutions if you cannot clearly document that you meet the income requirements for the Affidavit of Support? That's what we're talking about on today's episode of Sumner School Family Immigration Basics. The Affidavit of Support is a form that is required across the board for family-based immigration filings, and that's true whether your loved one is applying for a green card here in the United States or pursuing the immigrant visa at a U.S. consulate overseas. Regardless of where you're applying, the Affidavit of Support comes into play. It may be different timing depending on the situation, but it's required. So with the Affidavit of Support, the sponsor, the person filing the petition for the foreign national beneficiary, has to show that they meet a certain income threshold. That is typically 125% of the federal poverty guidelines, and that depends on the number of people in your household. The number of people in your household is defined by regulation. That is, the household member is defined in the regulations. It's complicated. This whole thing, the whole Affidavit of Support, is one of the most complicated aspects of family-based immigration. And we have clients coming to us, prospective clients and clients coming to us all the time because they've tried to do this on their own, and it's complicated. So it's okay to ask for help. So if you are not able to meet the income requirements, and a lot of people do that just by simply submitting their W-2s, their pay stubs, their tax returns. However, that's not always possible. That's not always the case. So first of all, keep in mind that it may not be required. The Affidavit of Support may not be required if the foreign national can show that they have 40 quarters of qualifying Social Security income. You don't need to submit the Affidavit of Support. You do have to show that they have those 40 quarters of qualifying Social Security income, but it may not be required at all. Second, look at the current household income. So the regulations talk about the current income. There are plenty of situations that we've had clients have over the years where their tax returns from the past year don't reflect the income amount that's required, but they are currently earning that amount. So that has to be clearly documented. But if you're currently earning that amount, then you can use that documentation to show that you currently earn that amount. It may not be accepted the first time by the government, but it is possible to do that. So if you still are not able to show that you meet the income, think about the sources of your income. That's one of the things that we always look at with clients is what is the source of your income? So we look at your tax returns. Okay, your tax returns don't show that you meet the income requirement. We look at the gross income, but let's think about what your sources of income are. Not all sources of income are taxable, but they can still be used. Some non-taxable sources of income can be used. So for example, certain Social Security benefits, certain retirement income sources are not taxed, but can be used. You may have a foreign tax credit that affects the adjusted gross income amount, but you still can meet the requirement. So those are things that we need to look at as well. In addition, if you still, for whatever reason, don't meet the income requirement, perhaps you're not working, perhaps you're a student, whatever the situation is, there are other solutions. One solution is you can use assets. So assets are things like cash that is sitting in a bank account, a checking account, a savings account. It can be investments. It can be the value of property that you have, real estate that you have. My paper fell, it scared me. Real estate that you have or other property that you have. You do have to clearly document this, but you absolutely can use assets. The value of the assets has to be equivalent to 5 times or 3 times the amount of income that you have to show. It depends on the nature of the filing, who's filing, a US citizen or permanent resident, and who you're filing for. Like I said, it's complicated, but you absolutely can use assets. In addition, you can combine your income and assets. So you can use assets that 3 or 5 times the value to meet the difference between your income and the amount that you have to show. So that's a possibility. In addition, another possible solution is you could use the income of the intending immigrant. So the intending immigrant is the foreign national, the person who's being sponsored. If they are working here in the United States with authorization, you can use their income, or if they're working overseas and their source of income will continue once they enter the United States, you can use their income as well. It also may be possible to combine your income with a household member, to use a household member's income. So for example, if you are living with your mother, for example, and that person qualifies as a household member per the definition and the regulation, again, it's complicated, then you can use that person's income. There's another form that they have to sign, but you absolutely can use that person's income. In addition, you can use a joint sponsor. That's kind of the last option that we have here is a joint sponsor. So a joint sponsor is another person, not necessarily a household member. It does not have to be a family member. It can be, but it has to be somebody who's at least 18 years or older and who's a permanent resident or a US citizen and who meets the income requirements on their own. So their income amount that they have to show will depend on the number of people in their household, but it is absolutely possible to get a joint sponsor. So the bottom line is, even if your current tax or most recent tax returns do not reflect the required amount for the affidavit of support, there absolutely are a number of different options that you can explore that we can help you with to be able to clearly document that amount. I hope that you found this information helpful. If so, I hope you'll share this video with a friend or family member. Drop your questions in the comments. We can't give legal advice here, but we're happy to answer questions to the extent that we can. And if you need help with an affidavit of support or with another aspect of a family-based or employment-based immigration matter, send us a message. We'll have information on the outro slide of how to contact us, and we are here to help you. You do not have to do this alone. It is complicated, it is stressful, and we are here to help. My name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law. I hope that you'll join us for our next video.